What's up and good morning, family? Welcome back to another video. Today we're actually reading two chapters again, and we're reading Deuteronomy 15 and 16. So let's get started. The special year of canceling debts. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is the way you must do this. Everyone who has lent money to another Israelite must cancel the debt. He should not ask a fellow Israelite to repay the debt, because the Lord said to cancel debts during that year. You may require a foreigner to repay you, but you must cancel any debt another Israelite owes you. There should not be any poor people in your country, because the Lord your God is giving you this land, and the Lord will greatly bless you. But this will happen only if you obey the Lord your God. You must be careful to obey every command that I have told you today. Then the Lord your God will bless you, as he promised, and he will have enough money to make loans to many nations. But you will not need to borrow from anyone. You will rule over many nations, but none of these nations will rule over you. When you are living in the land the Lord your God is giving you, there might be some poor people living among you. You must not be selfish. You must not refuse to give help to them. You must be willing to share with them. You must lend them whatever they need. Don't ever refuse to help someone simply because the seventh year, the year of canceling debts, is near. Don't let an evil thought like that enter your mind. You must never have bad thoughts about someone who needs help. You must not refuse to help them. If you don't help the poor, they might complain to the Lord, and he will judge you guilty of sin. So be sure to give to the poor. Don't hesitate to give to them, because the Lord your God will bless you for doing this good thing. He will bless you in all your work and in everything you do. There will always be poor people in the land. That is why I command you to be ready to help your brother or sister. Give to the poor in your land who need help, letting slaves go free. You might buy a Hebrew man or woman to serve you as a slave. You may keep that person as a slave for 6 years, but in the 7th year, you must let that person go free. But when you let your slave go free, don't send him away with nothing. You must give him some of your animals, grain, and wine. The Lord your God blessed you and gave you plenty of good things. In the same way, you must give plenty of good things to your slave. Remember, you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God set you free. So that is why I'm giving you this command today. But one of your slaves might say to you, I will not leave you. He might say this because he loves you and your family, and because he has a good life with you. Make this servant put his ear against your door and use a sharp tool to make a hole in his ear. This will show that he is your slave forever. You must do this even to the women slaves who want to stay with you. Don't regret letting your slave go free. Remember, he served you 6 years for half of what you would have paid a hired worker. The Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Rules about firstborn animals. All the first male animals born in your herd or flock are special. You must give them to the Lord. Don't use any of these animals for your work, and don't cut wool from any of these sheep. Every year you must take these animals to the place the Lord your God will choose. There with the Lord, you and your family will eat these animals. But if an animal has something wrong with it, if it is crippled or blind or has something else wrong with it, then you must sacrifice the animal to the Lord your God. But you may eat the meat from that animal at home. Anyone may eat it, people who are clean and people who are unclean. The rules for eating this meat are the same as the rules for eating gazelles and deer. But you must not eat the blood from the animal. You must pour the blood out on the ground like water. Deuteronomy 16, Passover. Remember, in the month of Abib, you must celebrate Passover to honor the Lord your God. It was that night in Abib when the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt. You must go to the place the Lord your God will choose to be the home for his name. There you must offer the Passover sacrifice to honor the Lord. You must offer the cattle and goats. Don't eat bread that has yeast in it with this sacrifice. You must eat unleavened bread for 7 days. This bread is called bread of trouble. It will help you remember the troubles you had in Egypt. Remember how quickly you had to leave that country? You must remember that day as long as you live. There must be no yeast in anyone's house, anywhere. in the country for 7 days. And all the meat you sacrifice on the evening of the first day must be eaten before morning. You must not sacrifice the Passover animal in any of the towns that the Lord your God gives you. You must sacrifice the Passover animal only at the place that the Lord your God will choose to be the home for his name. There you must sacrifice the Passover animal in the evening when the sun goes down. This is the festival when you remember that God brought you out of Egypt. You must cook the meal and eat it at the place the Lord your God will choose. The next morning you may go back home. You must eat unleavened bread 6 days. On the 7th day, you must not do any work. On this day, the people will come together for a special meeting to honor the Lord your God. Festival of Harvest. You must count 7 weeks from the time you begin to harvest the grain. Then celebrate the festival of harvest for the Lord your God. Do this by bringing him some special gift you want to bring. Decide how much to give by thinking about how much the Lord your God has blessed you. Go to the place the Lord will choose to be the home for his name. You and your people should enjoy yourselves together there with the Lord your God. Take all your people with you, your sons, your daughters, and all your servants, and take the Levites, foreigners, orphans, and widows living in your towns. Remember you were slaves in Egypt, so be sure to obey these laws. Festival of Shelters. 7 days after you have gathered your harvest in from your threshing floor and from your winepress, you should celebrate the festival of shelters. Enjoy yourselves at this festival, you, your sons, your daughters, all your servants, and the Levites, foreigners, orphans, and widows living in your towns. Celebrate this festival for 7 days at the special place the Lord will choose. Do this to honor the Lord your God. The Lord your God blessed your harvest and all your work you did, so be very happy. 3 times a year, all your men must come to meet with the Lord your God at a special place he will choose. They must come to the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of harvest, and the festival of shelters. Everyone who comes to meet with the Lord must bring a gift. Each man should give as much as he can. He should decide how much to give by thinking about how much the Lord your God has given him. Judges and officers for the people. Choose men to be judges and officers in every town that the Lord your God gives you. Every tribe must do this, and these men must be fair in judging the people. You must always be fair. You must not favor some people over other people. You must not take money to change your mind in judgment. Money blinds the eyes of wise people and changes what a good person will say. Goodness and fairness. You must try very hard to be good and fair all the time. Then you will live and keep the land the Lord your God has given you. God hates idols. When you set up an altar for the Lord your God, you must not place beside the altar any of the wooden poles that honor the goddess Asherah. You must not set up special stones for worshiping false gods. The Lord your God hates them. All right, and that's Deuteronomy 15 and 16. It's interesting that the U.S. carry on this the special year of canceling debt, because like after 7 years on your credit, they basically forgive you for some debts after 7 years. And I've been trying to figure out how to get into this slave conversation, because I know people be turned off from the Bible when they hear them talking about slaves. And the best way that I can think about it or describe it, or when I have conversations with other people that somewhat understand it, like slavery during that time is a different, let me say this. All slavery, to me, I wouldn't want to be in slavery at all. No slavery, regardless of what it is. Like, I don't want to serve another person unless it's God. But the way they describe slavery is more so like a servant, is more so like basically they're not held against their will per se. Like, they're not being held and treated horribly wrong. Like when you think of slavery as far as African American slavery or any type of other slavery that was to that extent, this was a different. It was a different terms at that time. Like when you read the Bible, you got to read it in, like, you got to read around everything else. Like, what was the norm in that time? How did people live during that time? Like, we can't really necessarily read solely from reading from our time, because terms and a lot of things is different. And so basically they worked slaves, like kept a person as a slave for 6 years, but in the 7th year that person could go free. So it's kind of like debts, like paying their debt. But it's just so interesting how it all relates. But let me know what y'all think as well too. Then it talks about the firstborn animals, and then we get into the Passover and the harvest and festivals and things like that, and the judges, basically saying how judges have to be fair. And I'm like, I agree with that. It's not many people out here that's like trying to be fair and trying to be right. Like, we need more people out here like that. But yeah, I guess as the Bible talk more about slavery, we can get into that topic. But I'll keep it short here. Hope y'all have a great day. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed Sunday. And be safe out there. Go bless somebody today. And smile. Peace. Y'all have a nice one.